Okay, great. So I'm Annie from IRL Art. We are based in Denver, Colorado. We have a brick and mortar art gallery that we primarily host NFT exhibits in. We've produced, gosh, probably about 12 shows at this point, ranging different themes. And I'm an artist myself. I've been a digital artist since like 2008. And so, of course, when I discovered NFTs in 2019, I was so excited for this new medium to be emerging that I could share my artwork in a way that really made sense to keep it digitally native. I always kind of felt funny about making prints because digital artwork is digital and it's very ephemeral. And so I've just been so enjoying for the last couple of years, really digging in to the depth of Web3. Um, and, we operate as an art collective. So there's 7 of us that are full time at IRL Art. And we've had a lot of success getting grants for our organization through different DAOs. And that's really how it started. Um, well, really how it was started was with ETH Denver asking us to curate a show or curate the gallery at ETH Denver in 2019. And so we just finished our 4th year at ETH Denver. So that was really what kicked us off in with NFTs. But then, thinking more about how Web3 could really help our entire collective and wanting to do our own projects as well. And so we started putting in proposals to different DAOs. After first we were approached by a DAO called Unique One, and that was our first grant that we got. And they really helped us put in a proposal and workshop the idea. And it was our first opportunity to really, distribute crypto to artists in stipends and in kind of sub grants, and really start onboarding artists to crypto. So we probably have onboarded at this point over 500 artists into NFTs and crypto by helping them get their wallet set up, understand how to exchange, how to understand how to add tokens to their wallet, and that was our first project. But really now we're doing a wide range of gallery projects, of metaverse projects, and so that's what I'm going to be covering is more, how we contribute to DAOs, how we put in proposals, and then how we're beginning now ourselves to really implement DAO tooling ourselves, because really there's so many tools out there. And I found for me that by participating in DAOs really helped me understand how to utilize the tools for our own needs. And so we're still really getting it all set up for ourselves. But, for anyone who is thinking about starting their own DAO, I really recommend participating in DAOs because there's just so many great ones out there. And so I'll highlight a few that I think are great. But basically, to get started, our website, irlart.com, we have, so if you just go to irlart.com, we've got some of our past exhibit and our current exhibit up. But then here at the bottom, we've got our resource docs. And I've got a DAO coordination resource doc. And I need to update it because there's always so many more amazing things to add. But there's some really good ones on here where, here's wallet management tools, and different communities that you can either have a profile up on, like Giveth or Gitcoin, where it's kind of like GoFundMe or Kickstarter, where, you can have a profile up to receive funding, but then some other great communities where they either have grants available or have a token that they have available for people to put in proposals to receive funding for different creative projects. And then here's some really great educational resources for learning more about DAOs, and then just some more about UBI. And here's some of the great tools that we'll dig in a bit more on that I mostly use and that are pretty standard across the board, that a lot of people use in really forming their DAOs. And yeah, and then just some other good resources. But lots of good stuff on here, and we're always adding more. And also, if you have any suggestions, we're always keen on, adding more resources if we might have missed something. So moving forward, I think I'll go on to, so Snapshot is really, I think, the best place to really kind of start getting a feel for DAOs. This is, where we have our voting up publicly, and we've had 3 proposals up that we've voted on. But you can go to their main page here, just snapshot.org, and go through tons of them. And I just find it so interesting to go to different communities and see what they're voting on, see what they're thinking about and what kind of projects they're supporting, and just getting a sense of all these different types of projects, right? Because this is very broad. Proof of Humanity is a UBI project, but Decentraland is a metaverse. So there's a wide range of different types of DAOs and different conversations and goals, right? So it's good to kind of figure out the communities that have similar goals to you. And so that's really what I tried to start honing in on myself, was what communities were out there that we could participate in and learn from, and that were working towards similar goals as what we had. So we have IRL DAO up now, and I actually created this snapshot where you can vote with an NFT. So I thought that was really cool. They have a lot of different, let's see, I can go to settings basically. So when you're launching it, you go down here, there's a, create space. But then under settings, when you create your space, you go down to strategies. And so right here is where you would add the information from the NFT. That would be what people vote with, right? And so we created just a really simple IRL DAO voter NFT. We used Polygon, which was free. It's free to create, it's free to transfer. And I transferred one NFT to, our main collaborators. And I still have some, so I made a little bit extra in case we had new contributors come on and I wanted to get them one. But then basically, so you create your NFT, but then down here in the details, you have the token ID and the contract address, and then you just plug it in right here under the ERC 1155, which this means additions, right? So this NFT is an ERC 1155. It's an addition. And so basically, you select this strategy, and then you would add the address and the token ID right here, and you keep the decimals at 0. And then that way, each person that has one NFT has one vote. And so then what that looks like on the front end is, so we put up this proposal. We have some grants that we're giving away right now. And so I put up the proposals for those grants. All of us voted. We all have one of the NFTs, so we have one vote. And everyone voted yes, so it was approved. So I just think that's a really cool way to get going with DAO tooling. Snapshot's amazing. Giant DAOs, everyone from ENS to creative DAOs like myself are using it. So it's very standard. And I just like that you can use NFTs because they're, with Polygon, they're free, and it allows you to get going without even needing to launch a token or anything like that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Gnosis Safe. So I actually launched the Snapshot from Gnosis Safe, which essentially a Gnosis Safe is, so if I were to go here, and you say create new safe, and just click continue and choose a name. I'll just call it something random. But, basically what this is so it would be my main address added, but then you can add another owner. And what a safe is like, so see, it says any transaction requires the confirmation of. And so you would want to, have 2 out of 2 signers to approve a transaction. So this is a way for multiple people to manage assets, shared assets. It's like having a board of a treasury or a board of directors that allow for money to be moved out or assets to be moved out. So, you could have 5 people on here and do, 4 out of 5 need to sign it or 2 out of 5. And so the Gnosis Safe is a really, really great tool. And, basically then here, if I go back to my safe, I'm trying to go to my safe. Anyway, no. Oh, here we go. So also you can go from the Gnosis Safe to different apps. So that's what's really cool too. So say I wanted to go to Snapshot, I can launch a space right from here. So I can use my Gnosis Safe to create a snapshot. And I think that that's really neat. And it's just really protected too, because Gnosis Safes don't have seed phrases. So they're just controlled by the people who are added as signers on them. So they're just a really safe way of storing money that, if say one wallet was compromised, you still have, your funds safe, right? So I think that just wanted to show how you can log into the apps. And there's tons of different apps. You can add custom ones and interact with these different platforms directly from the Gnosis Safe. So that's really cool. And yeah, I might pause for a second if anybody has any questions, but happy to just keep moving through different stuff. How's everyone feeling? Good?
Good. I'm enjoying it so far.
Okay, great. Yeah. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. Just I'll keep moving forward, but happy to just answer any questions y'all might have. So another great tool is SourceCred, which we don't have ours up yet, but we're working on getting one up. And it's basically all open source. So you would just go to their GitHub to be able to, get the project files to be able to fork it or, copy the code to make your own. And here is an example of what SourceCred looks like. So what I say, it's always, the way I explain it, it's like the companion to Snapshot. So, for instance, I'll go to the distribution one. So I'm a participate or a contributor in MetaFactory's DAO, but basically here they have proposed, their quarterly distribution to all of the contributors. But here's the official vote on Snapshot. But this is a way for people to raise, questions or concerns or conversation around what's being proposed, right? Because Snapshot's just where you vote. There's not really a way to comment or critique or have any conversation. So the SourceCred becomes this great way to really, have a conversation about whatever the vote is. And so then, you click on this, it goes to the snapshot, and here's the same proposal, but actually being voted on. And I think it's great. There's also a lot of pretty sophisticated tooling that with SourceCred where you can actually integrate the token that your community has into what's called instances. And those instances could be tracking, who's commenting, who's putting the proposal up, you can even integrate it into Discord or Telegram. And basically it will capture data around, people who are participating. And I think that's really this really brilliant thing where, you're able to really track who's engaging, who's responding to people's questions, who maybe posted on Twitter and, various things like this. So, with MetaFactory in their Discord, they have a channel called Did a Thing. And if you post something in that channel, you are getting points on their SourceCred, but then also the emojis, that people put on there give you more points. And so, if say you post something on Twitter and it gets a lot of good response, you can post it and Did a Thing and say, hey, I made a marketing post and got some great responses, right? And that's a way in real time to get rewarded for supporting the community. So that's like a really easy way to almost instantly get involved in a community by participating. And I just love MetaFactory. Basically, if you're not familiar, they are a creative DAO that does merchandise. So they do clothing and various types of clothing, really, and products for different, crypto organizations, other DAOs. And they've just been so successful, and they're so experimental and really thoughtful about how they're moving, what they're doing. And I've just found it so interesting to pop in on their community calls, to join some of their conversations. All of their community calls are also on their YouTube. And so there's just a wealth of knowledge there to really see their progress and see how they troubleshot different problems that they ran into or coordination issues. And I just think they're brilliant. And so I've been really enjoying participating in their DAO. And I'll show you one more tool that they just started using that I haven't really checked out too much, but I think even just this page of it is so cool. So it's called Sobol, Sobol. And basically it's a way to visualize the different working groups, so it's like got devs, production, marketing, metaverse, tokenomics, ops, and you can, meta dreamers and a ton of them, but it's a way to just see who's who and that we're all, concentric circles, right? But ways to really visualize working groups and these kind of collaborative ways of working together. And I know this is a powerful software where you can do like project management and things like that, but again, it's pretty new and I haven't really dug in too much in it, but I just love the this visualization right here. It's similar to Coordinate, where this is the main tool we have been using and probably will continue to use. But basically, let's see if I go to the map. So they have a similar, graph here. And so there I am. But basically you get give. It kind of sounds funny, but you so say you participate in a project and here's well, I wonder how I can, because we don't have any open right now, but we just finished. But basically I have 50 to give away in the future. And so the idea is, if I have 50 points to give away, I'm able to give, damage 5 points, eco 5 points, crypto 5 points, and give them a little comment too. So the idea is that we all are working, fairly asynchronously, or we're working like in breakout sessions, and the founders of the organization may not see what we're doing to be able to adequately, recognize the value that we've done or the ways in which we've participated. So this is a really cool way where each, contributor to the DAO can assign points to one another that represent tokens. And in our, our different distributions that we do. And I just think that's like a way more fair way to capture and distribute value, because, I might see what a few people do that these people don't see. And so we're able to really, reward each other more fairly. And I'll just pause again for a second if anybody has questions. I get really excited. I could
Hey.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, sorry, it's Claudia here. I just had a question about Coordinate, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on, I guess, kind of using it in the instances of like, I guess I'll just start from like my own personal experience. So I've only ever really been in one DAO, and we also use Coordinate. And I found that we can only really use it properly when we know what everyone else is doing within the DAO, like that the work is completely transparent and like accessible by members through Discord. And we've even had like issues come up with other members saying, they think it's like sometimes it turns into a popularity contest. So I know that like Coordinate isn't the perfect solution, but I'm just wondering if you've ever run into any problems like that yourself and like how to navigate that.
That's interesting. I think, that's most likely. It's hard to speak on behalf of everyone, but I would have to assume that that's why we're moving more in this Sobel direction, because it does tie in more of the project management tools as well as more distinguishing of these different working groups, who's who, who's working together. It provides a bit more accountability and just more depth. And I think that while I really like Coordinate, I could certainly see where those issues could arise. And that's most likely, I would imagine, what some of the issues that Sobel is trying to really add some depth to. You know, it's a really interesting point though. And I think, right now there's so many different tools that we're using that they all kind of work together where, like these different working groups are different Discord channels. And then we, are posting things on GitHubs or HackMDs or SourceCred. And, it is pretty, there's a lot of work and coordination efforts that still, I think, need to happen to promote better accountability and those things. But I am excited to continue digging in on Sobel more. And just from what I see so far, I think that it has a potential to address some of those things. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it definitely does. Thank you. I really want to look into Sobel after you've talked so well about it. So thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I wish we just started using it, so I don't have much experience with it, but I'm looking forward to digging in more on it. But I guess moving forward, does anybody else have any more questions? All right. So I just wanted to point out another DAO that I think is really doing great work. And of course, it's Decentraland, which is one of the first crypto-based metaverses that launched back in 2018. So they've really had some time to really, create a fairly sophisticated DAO here. And I love how they, have these different categories. So, you can go to grant request. There's great, UI here where you can see that it's active, it's passed, it was rejected. So you can just get so much good information, to prepare for putting in a proposal. So I do quite a bit of research before putting in proposals to see what the community's interested in, what they're wanting to support, these kinds of things. And here we'll just pull up one that passed. And you get voting power for this DAO through owning the land of the game. You get it through owning names and through owning their mana token. And basically then people can comment, and this is all powered through SourceCred. So they were able to integrate it onto their website, but the back end is SourceCred. So, and then you say join the discussion, right? And see it pops up. This is SourceCred. And so a ton of DAOs are using SourceCred. But anyway, so you vote, you can see the votes, which I just think this is really incredible. And they recently also, which I think maybe if I went to their blog, they did the Transparency OS, which, and just in general, they have, on their blog, their events, you can join in on their town halls. They do DAO events, really, really brilliant people working on Decentraland's DAO. And I've been just loving participating and listening in and following their progress. But basically, this transparency work has been happening, that like this, for instance, this public spreadsheet, right? So, I mean, I found this directly on their website, right? I just think this is incredible to see all this different great information about grants, about, votes, about KPIs, the team, the balances, like everything of their organization is just right here. And, they're working towards getting that translated into this dashboard, right? So that there is more of a visualization versus just spreadsheets. But, and they were able to get funding through their DAO to be able to really advance this work. And I just think it's incredible to really see how different communities are really working on governance. It's not a one size fits all. The tooling can be applied in many ways, as I showed you with the snapshot, that we're just using it with NFTs for now. And I'll give you all advice that I was given, where, because we've probably collaborated with over 2,000 artists at this point. We've been an organization for, oh gosh, almost 10 years now. And so, for us, I just dreamt so big, and I was like, let's get, a claimable NFT for everybody who's ever participated in our organization and give them all voting power and just go big. But really, I and I think at some point we might be able to do that. But really, I think starting small and then steadily growing from there is a way better way to think about it, so that you can scale instead of going so big at first that then you aren't able to really backtrack. You would have to backtrack, so kind of starting small and then moving from there. So I'm really glad that, again, with working with Meta Factory, they've just all, and that's the beauty of DAOs too, is that it's really positive sum. We are really trying to build a future together, and it's not competitive. It's very collaborative, and it's open source values, right? So just education and wanting to really support one another. And so Meta Factory has just been incredible, mentors for me. And, I've met with them. They helped me, launch my Gnosis Safe. And, when I was even thinking through who we wanted to originally assign voting power to, they were like, start small, and then as a group, you can vote to decide, if you want to full send it or go bigger. But once you go big, it's hard to go back unless you just. And so anyway, I thought that was really helpful advice that they gave me, that actually was relieving. Because I think that we all get really excited by these tools and dream really big, but I think just starting small and just putting one foot in front of the other is a really good way to think about it. So, yeah, and I guess, let's see. So I've kind of covered a lot of what I wanted to cover. I also recorded a video that went through a lot of this stuff that's on our YouTube. But then this will also be recorded. So lots of good information we can revisit later. But yeah, I guess if anybody, I would be interested to hear from people and hear, like, are you contributors of DAOs? Are you trying to start a DAO? Like, what interests you about the space? I just would love to hear from anybody who might be willing to share. Anybody? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I'm just curious, or if anybody has any good DAO insight that I might have not covered that you think we should chat about. Yeah, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for being here with us today. I don't have a lot of experience with DAOs yet. I'm guess kind of part of one, but I'm not an active contributor there yet. I have a question for you. You've shown us kind of a lot of tools that DAOs can use, and I'm kind of like amazed. I didn't know that all existed, but I wonder, besides, that the tools look beautiful, what do you see change inside of such a DAO, of like how people work together and teams, and how people, bring a project to life compared to maybe your previous experiences from before DAOs? In a more, I don't know if that question makes sense, but aside from the tools, but more of a person to person kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially, we've all been project managers of a wide range of creative projects for years, mural festivals, galleries, art direction at music festivals, so many different things, right? And, when you're creating a budget, right, and you're just trying to kind of assign people budgets to do certain jobs, there's always problems with that from my perspective, because at the end, some of the people that worked on the project might have gone way above and beyond, and there might have been someone who just hardly participated. But you have a contract in place, and and so I find that what I'm most excited about with DAOs and distributing value is that it's this much more comprehensive way of rewarding people based on actual value and contribution. And, while I'm still really in this experimental phase with it, and we're starting to really, introduce voting and governance into our organization and figuring out what that looks like, I think that to me is what's most exciting, because I think it's shifted my perspective on how to approach projects, where at the very least I can, even think about having splash budgets for a project to reward people who did go above and beyond, or, for these kinds of things, right? And I think that that's a lot of the things that DAOs are trying to rethink and create tooling around, so that and KPIs around it, right? So a lot of this stuff is hard to track. And, I think that that's what's so cool about these integrations, is something as simple as responding to someone on Discord that has a question in your community could get rewarded, or their action can be recorded so that they do get a point, or get, recognized on some level, because so much stuff doesn't get acknowledged or recognized. And so I think that, that to me is what's most exciting from kind of a project management level, kind of pre-DAO creative work to what the future of it could be. And and that's why I'm just so, I think, blown away by MetaFactory, because I think that they're really achieving that and are providing a real example of what that could look like. And for us, some of the things that we're interested in implementing is some kind of like bounty board. So it's almost like right now we have calls for artists. We have a lot of grant opportunities and various things that are all on our website. But thinking about what that would look like even for our internal team. And so we're still workshopping a lot of these ideas, but having, our projects listed to where people can, put in a proposal to work on it or to be a part of it, and opening that up a bit more where, it further decentralizes our own organization to where other people have an opportunity to actually be a part of the project itself, and in more of a management role versus just an artist role. And so we haven't quite figured out how we want to approach it yet, and we're still having conversations about that. But I just find it also exciting and a really meaningful way to really capture and distribute value in a more fair way, I think, is really how I could sum it up. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's very interesting that you're having these conversations, and that kind of, it also just shows that, you decide on a new way to govern yourself, and you don't just take whatever has been the mode of, the last decades, and try to reinvent again, how you can work together. Like my background, I've worked in project management, not in the creative sector, but in places where things were very closed, information wasn't shared, everybody was kind of always protecting themselves and their own priorities. And I'm also wondering, like that these DAOs are very much a part of the crypto world, but do you think that more traditional organizations will start maybe learning from companies of Decentraland, and maybe also spill over, in more traditional settings? Or maybe that's just also a hope I have. Then that
Yeah.
might happen.
Well, we're seeing it more and more. A really good example of a pretty large nonprofit organization is called Big Green. That's Kimball Musk, who's Elon Musk's brother's nonprofit that serves a lot of like food access and gardens and green initiatives, right? And they just launched a DAO, and I think that in some ways it was really shocking, right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, this big institution is starting to experiment with DAO tooling and crypto and these whole processes. And so, yes, I do think that more organizations will be intrigued and continue to onboard into the space. Although, for me, I do. It's interesting because our organization IRL is very much Web 2 and Web 3, right? We work with the city of Denver and art districts and events that are all very traditionally ran with, contracts and 1099s and checks, right? And for me, it's been kind of tough because I feel like I'm running two businesses, right? Because we're also operating heavily in crypto. And ultimately, I just, like I kind of touched on earlier, we're looking at how do we take our project. So say it is a civic project, maybe it's a mural festival, and we need 6 people to help with the project. We need someone to help with marketing. We need someone to help with project management, artist outreach, and we have 6 available positions, even though those would be paid out by US dollar or check. However, we could still use DAO tooling for that, in the sense that we could put the opportunity up on Snapshot or SourceCred and say, hey, we've got this opportunity. Here's kind of the various things. And people can put in proposals to be a part of the project. And even though it's not based in crypto, I think that there's ways that we're starting to see ways to apply DAO tooling and, like just like I said earlier too, of like these splash budgets where, you could give people bonuses based on their efforts. So, I think the experiences I've had working in DAOs have definitely impacted the way that I'm thinking about managing my more traditional projects too, and thinking, how do I have more of these hybrid projects, even though, the payout may not be in crypto. How do we still utilize the tooling and because a lot of the projects that we do, people could still be remote working on them. And I think, the pandemic certainly showed us that so much more can happen remotely. And so I think that hopefully that answers your question. It's still stuff I think we're experimenting with and figuring out, but it's definitely on our mind and stuff we're thinking about.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, anybody else want to, just share anything about, DAOs that you think are interesting, or, even that you, or something like, if you are wanting to contribute in a DAO, but maybe have questions about how to approach that, or, or wanting to start a DAO, or any even issues if you have a DAO like that you're working through. I'm super open to just chat and hear from you all.
Hi, Annie. This is Claudia here again. This is kind of more of a comment, but the DAO that I'm a member of is Raw DAO, and basically our core mission is to be collecting NFT photography. And what I really like about Raw DAO is they have a really thorough compensation plan that is divided up into like different departments, like marketing, finance, community, governance, etc. And the budget for each of those departments is like monthly. So like, for example, marketing is something like 2.5 or like 3 ETH this month. And instead of having like dedicated project leaders, it's just up to whoever like did the work that month for those specific goals of that month. So the way it works is like at the beginning of every month, there's like goals in each of the different areas. And then if they've all been met by the end of the month, then those folks who have participated and contributed towards completing those goals can be given, the coordinate votes basically at the end of the month. So I really like that process a lot. And there was some conversation back and forth at the beginning between like, oh, maybe we should have project leaders, or maybe we shouldn't. So I think right now it's kind of, we're looking at people to basically, I guess, rise naturally to the task if they want to. And that has been proven successful right now. But I'm wondering if you've seen maybe any instances where that hasn't always been the case and there's been like a need to elect like project leaders.
That is an interesting question. I think, for us, I think we still need to cross that bridge. We certainly, have project leads for everything we're doing right now. So we assign, who's leading the project just from an accountability standpoint and just to streamline knowing who's setting up the meetings, who's taking notes, who's like at the end of the day responsible. I think in the future it would be an ideal situation for that to be more fluid, but I think for right now we're still a really small organization, and so I think for us it's helpful to have that leadership. And but we all have a lot of really mutual respect. A lot of us have been working together for 4 or 5 years at this point, and so it's more so we're all feel like leaders. We're just kind of assigning different kind of leadership roles for the different projects we kind of just say like, oh, we're dividing and conquering, because but I like the idea of, in the future it being more fluid. It's an interesting concept. I'd be super interested to read more about, if you have any forums or conversations around this topic, just to give myself a little foresight into crossing that bridge in the future and how others are thinking about it.
Yeah, I can see if I have any information available that I can send to you in regards to that. I think our compensation plan for Raw DAO is actually public, I think, but I'll have to double check and just see if that's the case. But another thing I was thinking of, at least with Raw DAO and the fact that like we don't have project leaders right now, and I think that will only be sustainable if like members are constantly motivated either by like the monetary gain or just the teamwork or just the enjoyment of the work. So that's always like something to take into consideration. But what I really like is like, because I'm not a full-time, DAO worker, I kind of like right now that it's very non-committal. I can just jump into whatever area I want to work in. And then at the end of the month, hopefully my work is, visible enough or has made enough progress within that specific goal that it does get voted on as, a goal and I get compensated for it. But I think I just, more than anything, I really like how with Raw DAO specifically, there is a really great community, and it's mostly just like a lot of artists and collectors and like photography enthusiasts. So I think it helps that it is so niche to the art medium, and we're all working to just like collect more photography.
Fascinating. I actually haven't heard about Raw DAO, but it's primarily a photography-based initiative.
Yes, it is. So the main goal is just to be collecting photography and just have like the largest collection of NFT photography out of like any other DAO. I think we're also like, there's a few other photography DAOs, but Raw DAO is definitely like one of the earlier ones.
Oh, that's so cool. I definitely want to check it out more. Yeah, so I would consider what we're doing more as like a service DAO. And, we have a lot of cool ideas of how to structure that out more in the future. Some of the things we're thinking about is doing different NFT releases for various services that we do offer and selling those as, um, somewhat of a package, right? So doing an NFT drop that's for designing wearables, or doing an NFT drop for designing a metaverse space, or graphic design, or a number of or hosting an event at our gallery and things like that. And, so those are some of the ways, at least as a service DAO, that we're thinking about, both fundraising, but also, booking ourselves out and structuring out, our commitments and collaborations. I've seen quite a few people be really successful with that model. And, and also, IRL Art does have a Discord. Afterwards, I can share it in the chat, but it's also linked on our website, irlart.com. And we'd be happy if any of y'all wanted to join. It's mostly all artists and creatives, and we have a proposals channel that I might point out that here I can actually just show you. Oh, sorry, no, it's on our Discord, but I was going to show you that, our governance, we've got our snapshot here, but here on our Discord. But so on our Discord, we have a proposals channel, and one of the things I've been trying to really document is all of our proposals that we do put into DAOs, and say whether it was successful and funded, and provide updates, and basically encourage people to use those as templates for putting together your own proposal for funding. And it's also turned into a cool channel where people are giving each other feedback on pitch decks or proposals, or, and there's a lot of different people posting opportunities in there. I think that's been our main angle, is just being an opportunities and resource hub both for education, but also, paid opportunities for creative projects. So just wanted to point out the proposals channel as both a way to find good templates that you can, copy and use to structure out. And then, and then also on our website, I guess I'll point this out. We have several opportunities. We have a mural festival we do that we have a ton of paid opportunities for. We have a call for builders in Decentraland. And then we have several upcoming ones that we post here. We're always resharing other opportunities too. So if anybody has anything that they would like to promote to a wider audience or get out to artists, that's definitely our community, and a lot of who our subscribers are on social media. So always happy to share out different things. That's why I was so excited to connect with Vertical Crypto Art, because I see so many similarities in our goals, and I think it's just great to connect with so many like-minded communities and people. So anywho, yeah, anybody else want to chat? I would actually me call if you would be. Oh, is she in here? Or Phil is in here. If anybody from Vertical Crypto Art might want to speak, I'd be interested to hear about how y'all are thinking about your own DAO and tooling and things like that, or anybody else who's listening to chat.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. Or I could. Now I can't.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry for that. Well, I think the best person that can answer your question and talk about this kind of things is Nicole. Actually, I don't think that Phil can right now talk. So I'm so sorry, and I don't think I'm the best person to talk about this thing. But actually, I wanted to ask something very basic. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's a stupid question, but what do you think it's what's the advice would you give to someone who wants to start a DAO, someone that just start from scratch and this path? It would be useful to know some advices from you.
Sure. So I actually should totally talk about Trisocial Stack as well. So this is an incredible resource for launching tokens, if that is of interest. For us, we've just started with NFTs to keep it pretty simple. But if you're interested in launching a token, this is just an incredible resource for getting support with actually launching a token. And the founders are friends of mine. I served as a board member for about a year, and incredible community of different tokens. And I'll also speak a little bit on just some of the current regulatory kind of landscape. So I live in Colorado in the United States, and here we have two states that are really leading the front for regulations, Colorado and Wyoming. So with Wyoming, you can register an LLC as a DAO, which is fantastic. And in the state of Colorado, in 2019, there was a bill passed into legislation called the Digital Token Act. And what it does is basically provide securities exemptions for people who want to launch a token. They're very pro-crypto here in Colorado. And our governor, Governor Polis, speaks at ETH Denver, a local Ethereum conference, and is a big supporter of the innovation and the technology that's happening. And basically, here, they're looking at DAOs as being very analogous or similar to cooperatives. And so with the Digital Token Act, if you form into an LCA, which is a limited cooperative association, you are able to, actually register your token and legally launch it, which I think is a huge step forward. And it's the path that we're on. And so there's been 2 organizations that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's more that have done this. One is Opolis, which is also an incredible resource for DAO contributors, people working in crypto that are interested in receiving a W-2 for your work. So Opolis is an LCA cooperative, as well as Spork DAO, which is kind of the umbrella organization of ETH Denver and several other hackathons that Spork DAO produces. And so they both have their own token, and we're able to legally launch those in the state of Colorado. And so there's a lot of great, papers and resources out on both of their websites. And if you look up the Digital Token Act or Opolis or Spork DAO, you can find more information about this legal formation. And but also, speaking on Opolis, I'm really excited for that. I'm actually in the process of onboarding right now, but what I'm most excited about, I'm just going to speak transparently here. When you cash out crypto, you're subject to capital gains taxes, and you can't write off expenses. And for me, when I cash out crypto, I'm paying for rent at my gallery. I'm paying for internet at the gallery. I'm paying for things that are very much so a business expense. And, it's been a challenge because there hasn't been a way to actually prove that this is income. It's not capital gains. And so with Opolis, they're really solving this by creating a payroll system where you can actually pay yourself through Opolis when you want to cash out crypto and get a W-2 at the end of the year, which, shows not only taxable income, but you can write off expenses. And then they also have benefits that you can enroll in and pay fully in crypto. So you can get health insurance, dental, vision, you can pay into your 401k, you can pay into disability insurance, business insurance, so many different things, and pay all in crypto, which I think is great. And then it's also withholding your taxes. So I think for me, that's just kind of a relief to know that that's handled. And then when I go to pay my taxes, if anything, I'll get a return instead of a bunch of money. And so Opolis is incredible. And then another really similar platform that's out there is called Utopia Labs. So here, I'll just show you Opolis real quick, just so you can see it. So here's the, payroll and benefits built for you, just to give a little overview here. Yeah, and some of the benefits you can opt into, which is really cool. But then I wanted to show you Utopia Labs. So they haven't launched this tooling yet, but basically what I'm most excited about is that one of the things in the pipeline is actually to be able to do 1099s. So for me, why that's exciting is with grants and with, paying contributors, being able to provide them an actual 1099. So they don't have it live yet, but it's, oh, here we go. So, you know, they're working on being able to do both W-2s and 1099. So I think that's really exciting. Whereas Opolis is just W-2s. So that's more for like full-time people. So I think the 1099s are really excited for more like part-time or contractors that are working. So yeah, I'm really excited to, you know, stay on, you know, in the loop with Utopia Labs. So I signed up to their mailing list and have been following this stuff so that, you know, we can really try to do things right. Because I think the more that we are able to, you know, utilize, you know, more proper frameworks, I think the more likelihood that larger companies and nonprofits can see a path forward for themselves to really embrace DAO tooling and be more you know, involved in Web3. And so yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Matilda, so I could remember to touch on some of those points as well, because I think that you know, there's a lot of different angles to all of this, whether you're, you know, contributing into a DAO and looking at a path forward. Because for me, with Opolis, you know, the threshold to be able to get a W-2 to be considered full-time was $45,000 annually, you know, and so I've been working towards that goal for the last year, you know, and it gave me a goal to work towards so that, you know, I could, you know, get on the path of being a full-time Web3 worker. And similarly now with Utopia Labs, like I see a path forward to be able to get the right tax forms out to all my contributors in the future so that they can have, you know, payment stubs and the paperwork that they need to be able to, you know, get a lease for a house or get a loan for a car and things like that. And, you know, so I think that these are really big. This is a lot of progress for people really interested in working in DAOs and doing it full time, you know. Yeah, any more questions? Sorry, I feel like this is so much information, but hopefully everyone's good. But yeah, and Social Stack, and there's a few others similar to Social Stack where you can launch tokens, Rally, and what's the other one? Roll is the other one. So there's a few platforms like this that make it really easy to launch a token. But for us, you know, we really want to do it right, and we're really looking at getting our legal formation going. And so here there's a cohort program that we're really hoping to participate in that's ran by Yev Munich of LexDAO, which is a great legal resource for all things crypto, LexDAO, LEXDAO, and then Jason Weiner. And Jason is just an incredible resource as well. He's considered one of the world's leading experts on cooperatives. And basically, he helped two large companies here in Colorado, REI and New Belgium, form into a cooperative and become, you know, employee owned. And now he's teamed up with Yev, who's a blockchain and crypto attorney, to really, and they were, you know, a large part of getting the Digital Token Act passed in 2019. And they have a cohort program that we're wanting to participate in personally before launching a token, so that we can really, you know, in our eyes, do it more, at least in the framework that has been set in Colorado. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at, but there's certainly ways to get going and ways to craft your language so that you're talking about it as patronage or as voting and as utility, and ways to protect yourself so that your tokens aren't just deemed as security, which there hasn't been many examples of, but I do personally worry a bit about regulations. So that's why, for us, we're trying to at least use the frameworks that are out there to move forward in a way that, hopefully protects us in the long run so that we can operate in as compliant of a way as possible.
Thank you so much, Annie. Those were really helpful information, and the presentation was great. I think I have one final question, maybe, but before that, I want to know if anyone wants to add something or just ask something to our mentor. Feel free to unmute yourself or write it in the chat.
And there's definitely no dumb questions. This stuff is really dense and there's a lot of jargon. And so don't worry about, like, the fact that you're here is amazing, and, that you're curious, I think is huge. And, I think that we're all in a really important time in history right now where I always say, like, I'm so grateful that a lot of the opportunities we get, we're getting paid to learn, and we're very much so learning as we go. And, I think that just remembering that is important, and just being, both grateful, but, like, not putting people up on a pedestal or something. Like, we're all learning.
Definitely, yeah. Well, actually, I have a dumb question. I would love to know if you have any thoughts about, the future of DAOs, but more specifically within the art field. So, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, since we are all our residents are all creators. So it would be great to know, and also you are an artist yourself, so it would be great to learn what do you think about a future within two realities, actually, that they are already a reality itself, but I don't know if
Yeah, I just always feel like I reference MetaFactory just because I feel like they've provided such a, like, they're just really on the forefront of stuff. They're blazing so many trails, and what they're working on right now, I'm trying to find some of their proposals specific for what they're calling micro factories. And let's see, because they have two now. I mean, they have one in Brooklyn. They formed a partnership with a clothing, provider organization in Brooklyn, but they also have one in Berlin. And I think that, to me, is what I see as the future, is where it's decentralized, right? So there's all these different collaborators, but how, and I think because, we're IRL, we care deeply about, local community and localizing, and really, like, integrating these things into real life. I think that's what I've been most interested in with MetaFactory, is that they're, creating partnerships with studios and other organizations to provide clothing, to create products, to host events, etc. And I really see that as one part of the future, is creating almost like this network of nodes, which I think perfectly mirrors the technology that it runs on, where we have these different nodes that we have in different communities that are maker spaces, that are educational hubs, that are event spaces, that are galleries, that all somehow work together in this like larger ecosystem. And I think that I've seen some other DAOs. I don't know too much about it because I'm more in the creative side myself, but I've seen people kind of on the real estate front and kind of residency fronts, like the Cabin DAO is an interesting example that I think could scale, right? So I think they have one location that you can apply for residency at, but like what would that look like if it was global, and I think that's to me where I guess I hope it goes, is more this node based where there are these hubs in different cities that are year round. I personally feel like the current model that we're experiencing with all of these conferences and events is pretty unsustainable. It's kind of hard for me to see so much money being spent on like these large flamboyant events when, I think that for me, I would personally rather see that money go to setting up long-term spaces where people are able to have after school programs, have, art galleries, have, ways for people to host classes or meetups and still have events, but have these like really anchored places. And so I see Meta Factory starting that by doing these micro factories, and we've been workshopping an idea with them about what a IRL factory would look like, and still figuring out what that would look like. But they've gotten 2 going so far in New York and in Berlin. But I think that permanence and that like rooted in real communities is certainly where I hope it goes. As much as like the thriving internet communities is just so mind blowing and fascinating. I think the more that we can really anchor this stuff in reality, the more that like real impact it could have and more sustainability. So hopefully that answers your questions. I feel like it was pretty opinionated, but yeah, anyone else? I'd be interested to hear someone else's take on like what you think the future of DAOs could be. I feel like that's a really interesting question. And if anyone else has any like hopes and dreams, I feel like it's important to voice those, just as a creative act of putting it out there. So if anyone else has any thoughts about that, I think it's a beautiful question. No worries. Maybe it's just something to reflect on. I think, we're very much so imagining and creating a different future. And, I think that that's not a clear path forward. We're creating a new path, right? And I think about those kinds of questions every day. So I think, sometimes it starts with what we don't want, right? Or the things we are trying to change. And so I think that's in some ways a good prompt to leave us with. So, if anyone does want to wrap on that or has any final questions about anything we talked about, I know we covered a lot, and thankfully, yeah, the video's recorded so we can reference back. But if there was anything that was confusing or you want me to unpack some more, or if anybody else has anything that, they've any tooling or any communities that are really awesome that you'd like to shine some light on, feel free. or even just something you're working on you might want to share. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and it was so nice to meet all of you and present. And I am just trying to think of anything else we might want to cover, but I think I went through quite a bit of stuff. But yeah, definitely find us on Instagram and Twitter, IRL Art, and also our teammates. If you'd like to find them, we all are working on, a number of projects. And so Yule Tech is my partner as well as my teammate, and YULTEK, he's our metaverse expert, really leading a lot of our metaverse work. We've been recreating a lot of physical spaces virtually. So let's see if I can find it. We have oh yeah, I could go to the website. We've been recreating a lot of our, we need some more graphics here, but we have quite a few metaverse spaces that we've built out. So this is actually our gallery space in Denver that we built in Mona Gallery. And this was a really cool exhibit that we did with the Museum of Crypto Art. And so these are all pieces that are in Mocha's permanent collection. And we basically were able to get a grant to ask artists to create new work inspired by their work in the Genesis collection as 3D AR pieces. So these were all AR in the gallery. And yeah, so this is our space. It's literally underground, and it's next to a ramen shop in downtown Denver. But Yule Tech is who really leads all of our metaverse work, and definitely recommend following him. And then Rob, who is Sell Art Not Drugs on Instagram and Twitter, he's who designed these fantastic jerseys. He does a lot of our marketing and fashion and so much. He's awesome. I definitely recommend following him. And then also, I'll point out we have an NFT claw machine, which is pretty cool. That's a fun way that we've been introducing a lot of people to NFTs. So it's a free way to get an NFT and just kind of a fun way. So we do QR codes in these boxes with another little prize, and then we transfer the NFTs to people. But we actually have that in our gallery. So this is very close to what it actually looks like. But yeah, we've been building in multiple different metaverses and having a lot of fun with that as a way to promote accessibility to our exhibits that we build. So it's a way for anyone in the world to essentially, as close as possible, experience what we're building IRL, but also to document, what's happening, what people are doing in Web3, and I think trying to just make it more accessible too, so that people understand what the metaverse is or can be. So that's kind of why we do a lot of real world recreation. So it's a little bit more tangible for people. So that's just a little overview of some of the stuff we do and some of our teammates. But yeah, we're getting close to the end here. So if there's any final, I guess I can check in on the chat here. Oh, awesome. I'm super excited to check out more about Raw DAO, Claudia. And yeah, sounds good. I think we'll wrap up unless anybody has any more questions or want to share your social media. I'd be happy to follow you all if you wanted to add your info into the residency cohort chat. And I'd love to check out your work. Feel free to DM me or join the Discord and say hi. Always happy to keep conversations going. And or if you ever want feedback on any of your stuff, like I mentioned, our proposals channel is really great if you're working on anything and just want anybody to give you feedback or look over what you're working on. So yeah, thanks again, everyone. This has been really fun. And yeah, I think I'll sign out unless anybody has anything else.
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to thank you for the presentation. I'm not very well versed in DAOs at all, so this was a nice sort of introduction to them.
Yeah, it's very emerging, so I think it's really only been, I think, max 7 years that 6-7 years that DAOs have even been a thing. So, I think people feel like they're behind, and I still think we're so early to all of this and feel like there's still so much to come. And so I think just being curious, and for me, I spend a lot of time on Snapshot and just reading. I find it really fascinating just to go through, different communities and seeing what people are voting on and talking about, and how people are working to solve different problems, whether it's technical, whether it's creative, whether it's philanthropy. And I just find it all so fascinating. So that's kind of where I think I started, was really just reading snapshots, because there's so many in here and you can kind of see, how many members. So it's, and, you can cross-reference, find their website, kind of get a sense of what they're about. But I think that's a really good starting place. And I just find it also interesting to read about and kind of get a feel for different communities and what problems they're seeking to solve. And but yeah, thanks everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful week. And yeah. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.